Hi everyone, I hope you are excited because today I'm going to show you how to start the Sophie Hood. I was asked to do this as a tutorial, so I'm going to kind of do it as a tutorial slash knitting vlog. So you'll come with me every step of the way. So firstly, I hope you have your pattern, and because you can't knit this without the pattern. The hood is, I mean, I'm sure some people could probably work it out on their own, but the hood does have some intricate parts that you really need to be aware of while you're working. So what you'll need for this, sorry, I'm trying to put this off to the side. What you'll need for this is some DK yarn. I'm using this really just absolutely beautiful, wonderfully soft yarn from a place called Isadora Popper. It is a brick and mortar yarn store in Clayton, North Carolina, and I visited there about a year ago and just fell in love with this yarn. So it is a 42% alpaca, 8% wool, 50% Pima cotton, and it's a blown yarn. I don't know if you can see, but it's just really super soft. I knit a Sophie for a friend out of this yarn, and it knit up so beautifully and was just absolutely a dream to work with. So I've decided to do it for the Sophie Hood too. So I'm going to put this off to the side for a moment. You're going to need a pair of size 8 knitting needles. I'm just using these from, oh, I don't remember where these are from. Knit Pro, maybe, I'm not sure, but I really like them because they're very soft and very slidey. You'll need a progress keeper or a stitch marker of some sort. And like I said, your pattern. So, and also a row counter, unless you plan to count your rows by hand on a sheet of paper, which is totally fine too. So the first thing you need to do is you need to choose the size that you're going to knit, because there is a 10-inch difference between each one of these sizes. So it's going to make a huge difference in how this scarf fits you. One that really hugs your neck and the tails don't hang too low. If you're very small stature, then a size small would work for you. Medium, if you want to bring your tails around to the front and just tie them in a very small, very loose tie, that would be great. A large, if you prefer a more drapey scarf and you want to wrap your tails around your neck and have it a little bit loose, not too overly tight, but then have some length to your tails. So I'm going to be knitting the size large. And it is very important to start your project knowing the size that you want to knit. So I would suggest going on Pinterest or Instagram or somewhere else to get a really good idea of the size that you want to knit before you start. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out exactly how we started out the Sophie. And if you're new to my channel and you have never knit a Sophie before, then I'm going to show you a little bit about how to start a Sophie. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cast on. And for this, we cast on 6 stitches. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we have our first 6 stitches, and this is going to start the base of the tail, one of our tails of our scarf. So the first thing we're going to do, and it tells you exactly how to start right here on the pattern. The first thing we do is we're going to knit, this is our row 1, and we're going to knit 3 stitches. And I hope you can see. All right, I hope the lighting is okay. It's not an incredibly bright morning, but not gloomy either. So you knit those first 3 stitches, and then you're going to slip the last 3 stitches off of your left hand needle and onto your right hand needle without working them. And now we turn. This is our, there's a ball of yarn. This is our row 2. So row 2, you notice that your yarn is here in the middle of your work, but that's okay. We're going to knit those first 3 stitches, just pulling that yarn over, not incredibly tight, not super loose either. Knit those first 3 stitches, and again, bring our yarn in front and slip those last 3 stitches right off. That was row 2. Now, do you see this line right here of yarn? Don't worry about that. As we get further along, this line is going to be replaced by the end of this I-cord. So every time you knit a row and you turn, you're going to see a little line of yarn there. But as you knit, that goes away and it kind of curves or rolls in on itself. So here's our row 3. We're going to knit the first 3 stitches. Pull our yarn in front, slip those last 3 off, and then turn. Row 4, knit those first 3 stitches. Pull your yarn in front and slip them off and turn. Row 5. So my yarn is a little fluffy, but maybe you can see now, you still see that little bar there, but as you can also tell, you're starting to see this stitch down here. So this I-cord is just starting, it's a baby I-cord, and it's just starting to turn over on itself. So don't be afraid. So here's row 5. You simply knit the first 3 stitches. Pull your yarn in front, slip those stitches off, and you can tug down as you're going to, and you'll start to see that I-cord starting to roll over. So here's row 6. So we knit to exactly 6 rows. So we're going to knit this row 6. 1, 2, 3. Slip those 3 stitches off and turn. Now here we are. This is row 7. Row 7 is a wrong side row, but row 7 is also going to be the row that we increase on. So grab a little progress keeper or a stitch marker and just slip it on here on this side. We'll get in. Just slip it on this side. Oh my goodness, struggling this morning. That's fine. Slip it on this side, and that's going to be your reminder that this side is your wrong side row, and it's also the side that you increase on. So we are going to increase now. So we knit 2 stitches. Then our 3rd stitch, which is our part of our little I-cord edge on this side, we're going to knit the front, swing it around, and knit right into the back. So we've created a new stitch, and you can see that bar. So our first stitch here is a nice, straight, clean stockinette, and then we have an extra bar here, and that's our stitch that we just created. Now we're going to flip to the front, slip those last 3 stitches off. Okay? Now we're going to continue to knit, and we're starting over at row 1 now. So I would get your row counter. Okay, so here we have a row 1. And what you're going to do now is you're going to continue just knitting. You knit these 4 stitches now. So do you see how you can see right here? It tugs a little bit and it's a little tight right there because that's the stitch we just increased. That's the stitch we just made. And you're just going to knit that stitch and slip to the front and slip those last 3 stitches off of your needle and turn. Now we're going to keep doing this, and depending on what size you're knitting, that determines the number of rows that you knit to before you increase. And then those rows will be your increase row. They will always stay the same. So because I'm knitting a size large, I just knit row 1. So now I'm on row 2, and then I'll see you again when I do the increase again. Okay, so I'm ready to do my increase again. And as you can see, now that we've gotten a little bit of length to it, you can see that the I-cord takes a very nice shape on both sides. So don't worry about pulling this yarn over and having a bar there. It rolls over and it looks very nice and clean. So for this row, you knit 2, knit 1 to the front and back. So front, turn it over, go back in, and knit into the back. And then you knit up until those last 3 stitches, and then you just simply slip them off. And then you start over again. So you are going to continue this pattern in exactly this way until you have 45 stitches on your needle, or until the total width of your scarf that you're sort of making at that point before you start your hood, until the total width is 9 3/4 of an inch. So like I said before, your length between these different sizes is going to be a total of 10 inches of difference. So you really need to make sure you know what size you're going to knit and what size you feel like is going to look the best on you. And like I said, check out Instagram and Pinterest to see what the sizes look like on other people of your size. And then you'll be able to have a good idea of which size to knit. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with mine. And I'm going to continue, and I'll take you along on the process with me. And I will see you back here when we have 45 stitches on the needle and we're ready to start our hood. sleeping in my bed, so I had to come out here to the living room. And so I wanted to show you 4 days of progress on my scarf. So I just put this progress marker there last night to keep together the progress that I make today. But so from here to here is yesterday, and then there to there the day before, there, so I'm about 10 to 12 rows away from 10 to 12, maybe 15 rows away from being finished before I start the hood part. And I've still got plenty of yarn left, but once I get to the hood, I'm gonna be waiting for more of this yarn to come in because I had to reorder some. So I'm enjoying this. I always enjoy knitting Sophie's, so I've just been really taking my time with this and enjoying, and I'm not trying to rush through or anything like that. So I'm just gonna keep working and keep checking in with you, and pretty soon we'll be starting the rounded decreases for the hood. Okay, so I've knit to where I have 45 stitches across, and I actually had a cat mishap with my yarn, so I had to cut my yarn, but I've got my yarn off to the side here to rejoin. So I kept, this is my progress keeper to let me know where I've started at this moment, or started today. So I've kept little progress keepers on here to show my progress each day that I worked on here. Just little progress keepers. This is from the first day. Now I measured mine, and I have the length that I want, but my top here, the hood part on mine, only measures about 9 inches across. So the pattern says that it's not the stitch count when we start the hood is not the most important thing. It's the width of what is going to be the hood. So I'm going to go ahead and add maybe another 3 increases, maybe 3 or 4 increases, and I'm going to see how this takes shape from then, and I'm going to remeasure then. But this is just a good reminder for you to, once you get to those 45 stitches, measure first before you start the hood, because the last thing we want is a hood that doesn't fit us or doesn't come up properly on our head the way we would like our hood to fit. And we're doing all this work and putting all this work into this thing, so we may as well do it right? All right, so I'm going to add about 3 or 4 more stitches and continue my width here, and I will see you again when it is time to start the hood. All right, so I'm back again. I have continued to increase, and now my width is 9 3/4 of an inch. So I'm ready to start the hood process. So check your pattern, and we're going to be working on our wrong side here. Now for me, how I marked the wrong side was I used a stitch marker to show on each side, on the side that I was increasing on the whole time. And I just know that that is my wrong side. So every day my knitting progress throughout the day. At the end of the day, I put a progress keeper. So this right here is my wrong side, and we are starting out the hood process on the wrong side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 3 I-cord stitches right here, and we're going to slip them off on hold. Now the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be knitting back and forth. So here, the I-cord edge on this side is going to be the part that's going to frame your face, and this side is going to be the side that we seam up at the end. So the first direction, we're to put the first 3 stitches on hold, and then we're going to knit to the last 3 stitches and slip them off just the same as we've been doing. What I think I'm going to do though, because we're going to be seaming up this edge, is I think I'm going to slip the first stitch of each of these wrong side rows. And I think that's going to give me a nice clean sort of V'd edge, so that it will be easier and cleaner for me to mattress stitch the 2 ends or the 2 back sections of the hood together. So that's what I'm doing. At least that's what makes sense in my mind. You don't have to do that, because that's not what it says to do in the pattern, but that's just something that I'm gonna do. And I suppose I will see if it works out, huh? But I think it's gonna work out. So you just would slip that first stitch. If you wanna slip it knitwise or purlwise, I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter. And then you knit across, and then we're going to slip those face framing stitches, just like we've been doing, so we can keep that pretty I-cord. And then on the way back, we just knit all the stitches, so there's no more slipping the last 3 stitches at the end of the right side row anymore. We are going to let those go. Now, you will probably want to put actually, I need to move this up. You'll want to put a progress keeper or a stitch marker here. You've got this right here to keep those stitches on, but you may want to put a progress keeper or stitch marker of some sort right where you've started, because in the pattern, it's going to tell you how many ridges of garter stitch that you need to do before we start decreasing for the top of the hood. So we're just slip those last 3 stitches off like usual. And I'm gonna mark 1. I'm not gonna give you that number. It has come to my attention that sometimes I give away too much of the pattern, and I don't mean to do that. So we are knitting on our right side row now, and we just knit those first 3 stitches as usual, and we're going to knit all the way across, and we're not going to slip any stitches at the end of this row. This is our right side row. So these 2 rows here, we're just going to keep knitting, and we're going to keep knitting these for the amount of times that it tells us to do in the pattern before we start to decrease for the hood. So I'm just going to keep going here. I hope you're enjoying knitting this pattern with me. I hope you're not too tired of the Sophie yet, because I'm not, and I am really enjoying this yarn. I'm actually to the point now where I don't have to wear a mask when I'm knitting, so that's good. And I really and truly hope you don't mind my very non-aesthetic knitting, like where I'm just sitting on the couch knitting. See, we just knit all the way across. We're not slipping any stitches because those stitches are on hold now. That's my row 2. Now we're back again at a wrong side row, and I'm gonna slip that stitch off, and I'm just going to knit across. So I really hope you don't mind my very non-aesthetic little B-roll of me knitting this. I don't really have a pretty aesthetic place to film me knitting in this house. However, perhaps by the time I finish this, or by the time my next video rolls around, I will have a new filming space. We are moving, and we're very excited. We're moving to a house in North Carolina where we will have much more space than we have now. It's hard being a family of 5 and living in a very, very small 3-bedroom house and with 2 teenage girls sharing a very small room. So we are very excited to move on to a new chapter of our lives. And I will still continue to film and be present here. And I hope you will continue to give me your recommendations and ideas for new videos. I do have some videos coming up that maybe 1 or 2 of them will be up before this video. I'm not quite sure. One of them is about how to elongate sleeves on sweaters that you've already knit, and it's a video that was requested as well. And so I just need to edit that and put it together, and then that will be ready. So that'll be coming soon. I also have another Bible chapter flip through, or a book flip through, and that has been requested as well. I'm still in my current journal, and so I'm not ready to do a new journal flip quite yet. This current journal that I'm in is rather large, but I'm enjoying every page of it. And by the time it is done, oh my goodness, it is chock full. And I think you will enjoy seeing it, and I'll tell you more about the journal itself. So this was our right side row where we're not slipping these last 3 stitches, we're just simply knitting them. Okay. Let's see. You know what? I really can't tell at all that I have slipped these edge stitches at all. So, you know what? I'm not going to do that now. I think I'm just going to knit them. I cannot tell at all. That's silly. Well, I thought it would give me a nice, like, V edge, but you know what? This is fine. It's fine. It's fine. Well, I'm going to continue knitting until I get to the part where it's time to start decreasing for the hood. hope I will see you back there with me, and we will move on and continue getting this hood done in time for the cold weather. So I will see you then. And we're back. If you're here, then we're about to start decreasing for our hood. Yay! Today is a day where it actually feels like fall outside. It's chilly, there's a briskness in the air, and I wanted to wake my teenage daughter up and tell her fall was here and make her go for a walk with me. But the sun was coming in to the window, and so I knew I needed to sit down and get this video done while I still had some sun. So after I am done with this, I'm gonna force my 19-year-old to go on a walk with me. It's gonna be great. So if you're here and you're ready to go, we're on the right side of our fabric. So this is gonna be the side where we have no progress keepers or stitch markers. We're gonna be doing our first row of decreases, and those decreases are gonna come here at the end of our hood, at the back part where we're going to sew or seam this part up at the end. So that's why we're starting on our right side. So, oh, what is that? I don't know. Okay, so this part of the instructions are a little bit wonky. It tells us to decrease on every fourth row, which is going to be a right side row. However, it gives you the instructions underneath for row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4. And our decreases are on the first row. So we're just going to follow what the pattern says. And we're going to do these decreases, these 4 rows, we're going to do these 3 times. So that's 12 rows total. And I'm going to use my handy dandy row counter. And I suggest you do the same, or just use a pencil and paper to make checks or marks for each row that you've done. So the first instruction is to knit to the last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, and then knit 1. So we are going to do that. And we are only decreasing for this section. There are 3 different sections of decreases for the hood. And for this section, we're only decreasing on row 1. The rest of the rows are knit as just usual. So we have the 1 row where we just knit across with no slip stitches. And then we have the other row where we knit across and we slip those 3 stitches at the end. So the first row here is the only one that sees some action. So we're going to get all the way across here, and I'm going to show you how we decrease for this. And then I'm going to let you do those decreases. And then I'll see you back here when it's time to start decreasing on every second row. So like I said, there's 3 different sections of decreases for the hood. So we're going to come to our last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, and then knit 1, and that was our row 1. Row 2 is we are knitting all the way across and slipping our last 3 face framing I-cord stitches. Then row 3, we just knit all the way across. We're not slipping any stitches. and then row 4. Oh, so I've run out of yarn for my first skein now, and I did not do what you're supposed to do. I've just tied a loose knot, and I'm gonna worry about weaving in my ends later on. I have a foolproof method for weaving in ends in the middle of a row in garter stitch. And my foolproof method is I just do the best I can. I can't be bothered to only do it on the ends of my project. But anyway, row 4 is simply just knit all the way across, slip those last 3 stitches. So we're gonna do these 4 rows 3 times. So that's 12 rows, and we'll be decreasing 3 times. So I will see you back here when it's time for the second section of decreases. Hello everybody. So now we are on the decrease section where we're going to decrease every other row. So we're starting on our right side row here, and we're going to knit all the way across to the last 3 stitches, and we're knitting our I-cord face framing part here, and we're going to knit all the way over here to where the back of our hood is, and we're going to decrease every other row. And we're going to do this for 12 rows. So it is 6 decreases. So this is where our decreases start to get a little bit more rounded, and it's going to give us more of that hood shape. So I'm just getting across the row here. Please excuse my chipped nails. I cannot keep a manicure good for longer than 24 hours because washing the dishes and showering, and I just can't find a top coat that just lasts. So I know that's kind of random, but if you know of a really good clear top coat that keeps your manicure longer for a day or two, please let me know below. Drop me a comment below about that because I would really like to find one. So our last 3 stitches here, we're going to knit 2 together, knit 1, and that's our first row. So I went ahead and I wove in my ends from the 2 pieces of, or from my 2, you know, and so I don't know if you can tell, but they're woven in right here. And so hopefully those stay put. They don't come out. I do have the knot on this side though, like you can see, but I am really not worried about that at all. Let's see if I can cover it with this bar. Yep, there you go. No big. All right, so here on row 2 is just like all the last rows where we're just knitting across, and we're going to slip those last 3 stitches and knit all the way across and slip those last 3 stitches of our face framing I-cord. So I don't know about you, but I am itching now to get this hood finished so I can start on the other side, because it took me about 5 days to get to the part where we start the hood. And ordinarily, when I've knit Sophie scarves in the past that are this weight and, you know, this size, like a long squishy Sophie scarf, usually I can do one in a weekend. But I think I haven't been spending as much time knitting now since we're packing up our house. I really should be doing more packing than I'm doing. I've been spending a lot of time journaling my feelings and anxiety and stress out, and I should be spending more time packing. So those last 3 stitches, we just slip them off, and that's our row 2. So now we're coming back to row 3 here, which is our row that we decrease on. So we just knit our I-cord stitches, and we're going to go all the way across just to decrease again, and we're going to keep doing this for 12 rows. And we will end and start our next decrease section the same as we've been doing, where we started on our right side row. So I'm going to go ahead and keep doing these decreases every other row. So I'm going to keep going here, and I will meet you back here when we're ready to start the decreases for every row. And at that point, the side of our hood will be done, and it'll be time to work on the other side of the hood. And hopefully that'll go pretty fast now that we know what we're doing. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this row out. And since we're working towards the back of the hood, we just knit all the way across. We don't slip any stitches. All right, I will see you back here shortly. All right, we're here. So you can see here off to the side, this is how our hood is taking its shape. And we've been decreasing on every other row. And now we're gonna do 10 rows where we decrease every row. So the first thing we're gonna do is row 1 is to knit to the last 3 stitches like we've been doing, then knit 2 together and knit 1. So let's do that. All the way across. I'm curious what kind of yarn you're using too. Are you using a sort of blown yarn like I am, or what are you using? I have 2 yarns that I used that were acrylic, that like were those really soft, not furry, but they kind of have a halo, that I got from, where did I get those? Michael's a while back. But I'm one of those people where I like working with acrylic. So as long as it's soft and squishy, that makes it all right for me. So we knit all the way to the back to the last 3 stitches, just like before, and we knit 2 together, knit 1. That's our first row. And now we're going to decrease on our wrong side row too. So I put a little progress keeper over here earlier when I started. So to decrease on the wrong side row, we're going to knit 1, then knit 2 together, and then we're going to knit all the way to the last 3 stitches, and we're going to slip those as usual. So we decreased on the right side and on the wrong side, but over here in that same spot. So we're making a more rapid decrease, a more rapid rounded hood shape. And we're going to do 10 rows of these decreases. And after you're finished with that, you should have, if you knit to the certain amount of stitches that she specifies in the pattern, then you'll have 23 stitches on your needle. But if you knit to the width that to that width of 9 3/4 of an inch, and you didn't necessarily use the stitch count that she gave in the pattern, then your stitch count that you get to will be different. But it'll still have, as long as you're following the pattern properly, you'll still have that hood shape. And slip those last 3. It's row 2. And row 3, we knit all the way across again. Knit those first 3 face framing stitches. But yeah, my 2 Sophies that I knit for myself, I really love them. I knit a totally green one, because green is my favorite color. And then I also knit one from a sort of self-striping variegated yarn. And I knit from 2 different colorways of the yarn. So I think it turned out really pretty. It's very different and it's very bright, which I've been really trying to reach out with colors that I choose to knit with. Before I was always just sort of knitting with like neutral tones or jewel tones, because supposedly jewel tones, rich jewel tones, look better with my skin type and hair color. Last 3 stitches, knit 2 together, then knit 1. But this year I decided to branch out. That was row 3. And I knit a really pretty pink, like bubblegum pink vest. Knit 1, knit 2 together. And it was also with mohair, and I really, really like it. I've been styling it just over a white t-shirt, but also I have these 2 button-up long sleeve blouses that I can wear under it if I want to dress it up a little bit. But I really enjoyed making it, and even though the mohair, I had to wear a mask while I was knitting it, but I see the charm of knitting with mohair now. It was enjoyable, and it made for such a soft, squishy fabric. I enjoyed working on that. And pink is not, here I am wearing a pink row counter, but pink is not usually a color in clothing that I gravitate towards. I'm not a pink person, but this vest, it got me. It is the only thing that is pink in my entire wardrobe. But I really, really like it. So we're just going to keep working these decreases on every row for 10 rows. So I will see you back here when we're done with those 10 rows. All right, we finished all the decreases for the hood, and this is how it looks for us. We've got our 3 stitches on hold here for our I-cord at the very bottom, and then it comes up into that nice rounded hood shape all the way here at the top. And now that we've finished and we're on our right side row, we're going to start our increases. So we're basically going to be doing this in reverse. So the first row in our reverse section here is we're going to knit to the last 2 stitches. Then we're going to knit front and back, knit 1. And then on our row 2, we're going to come back and we're going to do pretty much the same thing. So make sure you've got your row counter or you're keeping track of your rows on your paper. It's going to be very important because you want to make sure that both of these hood backs here are symmetrical. So you want to make sure you're doing the right amount of increases at the right time. So let's knit 3. Those are face framing stitches. And now we're going to come all the way across here to the last 2 stitches. All the way over here. Last 2 stitches, just like that. And you're going to knit front, pull it around, knit into the back, which creates an extra stitch for us, and then knit that last stitch. So now we've got our first row done and our first increase done. And row 2, we're going to increase again here on the same side that we just increased on. And we're going to knit 1, knit front and back, then knit all the way across till we come to our last 3 stitches, and then we're just going to slip them just as we've been doing the entire time. And we're going to do these increases on every row for 10 rows. The pattern says to work row 1 and 2 a total of 5 times, and so that means 10 rows. So we're doing the exact same thing that we did in our previous rows where we were decreasing. We're doing everything mirrored now. And slip those last 3 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and continue these 10 rows of the increase every round, and then I'll see you back here for the section where we increase every other round. So you can see here how our increase rows are giving shape to the other side of our hood now. So I've just finished my 10 rows of increasing every row, and I'm going to move into section 2 where I'm going to start increasing on the right side row every other row. So that, let me just reset my counter here. We are knitting all the way across. So we're doing the same thing that we were doing in the previous 10 rows, except we're only increasing on every other row now. So row 1 is our increase row. Row 2, where we're knitting back this way towards the front of the hood, we don't increase anymore. We're just knitting those plain. So I'm just going to get to the back of the hood real quick. Well, not real quick because I'm not a super fast knitter, but you know what I mean. And come to the last 2 stitches. And then we knit front and back. Knit 1, and that's our row 1. Now our row 2 we simply knit all the way across, slip our last 3 stitches at the edge, and we're going to keep alternating these rows for 12 rows. So I will see you back here when we get to this section where we're going to be knitting flat again. So you should be able to follow the pattern and do all of your increase rows just mirrored as we've done them before. And then when we get to the part of the pattern where we're just knitting flat again, I will see you there. Hi everyone, I'm sorry I'm not using my mic right now. My mic is on my headphones and my hair is wet and I don't want to ruin my hair. So sorry about that. So I finished the rounded part and now it is time to move on to the next part of the pattern. And this part of the pattern is very simple. It is section 4 and we're going to work flat, no increases. We just knit across and then we knit to the last 3, slip them just like we've been doing. And we're going to work row 1 and row 2 17 times. So that is 34 rows. Now on our other side, we worked this flat section 15 times, but this time we're doing it 17 times. So we're going to work this flat section right here, and then we'll get to the part where we're going to put these stitches back on the needle and continue working down our hood. So if you're here with me, we're going to go ahead and I will take you along with me as I knit this flat section. There's a little hair right there. And we're still doing this together. Isn't this pretty how it's turning out? I'm sorry for the lighting. The sun is up, but it's not quite shining through the window yet. But anyway, I just wanted to pop in real quick and say it's time to start knitting flat. And when we're ready to move on to the next section, I will be back to see you. And I'm just gonna fold that up just like that. See you then. So our hood part is done. I've knit down to right here. So it is basically a mirror copy of this part here. I know you can't really see very well. Because I'm packing and our house is a mess, I really don't have anywhere to stretch it out and show you right now. But as you can see, it's just mirrored all the way down the back edge of it and all the way down the front edge. So now we're here. Now we're going to knit across and we're going to put these 3 stitches back on our needle, and we will do that together. So got this whole scarf tucked up against my chest over here. So we're going to knit all the way across, and this is our right side row. Now I ended up having a knot in my yarn, so I've got another thing there that I got to weave in, but that's okay. But we're going to knit all the way across and knit to the very end here, and then we are going to take these 3 stitches and make sure you're taking them off properly. So make sure they're facing away from you. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, hold on. Put your yarn in front, and then 1, 2, 3. And then let's turn our work. And now we're going to knit 1, 2, 3 stitches, and we're going to knit all the way across to the end. You see we have a hole here. This is the hole we're going to end up sewing up. But right now we've reconnected, so that's good. So that hole will get more stability the further we move down. So we're gonna just knit across all over again. And when we get to the very end over here, those last 3 stitches, we're simply going to slip them just as we've been doing this whole time. This is our row 2. My head to the left. Slip those last 3 stitches. That was our row 2. Now we're going to turn and do our row 3. You gotta kind of situate your scarf here. Row 3 is simply exactly the same. Knit those first 3 stitches, knit all the way across, and slip the last 3. My husband and daughters went on a cruise with my in-laws on Monday, and they come back today, which means I have to do the flight of the bumblebee and tidy up the house and act like it's been this way the whole time. If you know, you know, right? I'm gonna need a big coffee before I get started. But here we're coming to the end. Right where we connected earlier. So knit those last couple of stitches, and then yarn in front, and you slip over those last 3 stitches. Give your yarn a good little tug there. Okay, so I've just used some light bulb stitch markers to hold the hood together as we continue knitting. I think that would be a really good idea. Yeah, because it's just flipping around everywhere. So now it says that we're going to work row 1 and 3 once, and then row 2 and 3 for how many ever times it tells you to go in the pattern based on your size. So basically we're going to just simply knit across and slip 3, then knit across and slip 3, and we're going to do that however many times it says in the pattern that you need to do for your size. So I'm going to get my trusty row counter here, and I know how many times I need to work those 2 rows. And so I'm going to do that, and you do yours, and then that is when we start our decreases. So let's do those real quick, and then we'll start the decreases together. So we've finished up those couple of rows right after the opening of our hood that we're going to sew closed. So this is what the edge, the back edge of our I-cord looks like. Now for the next part here, you need to remember what side is your wrong side row and your right side row. So our wrong side row, we put progress keepers on. So think about it this way. Your wrong side row is right here. So it goes all the way up on the inside and continues all the way on the other side. So this side right here is our right side row. This is our row this is going to show to everyone. I mean, really, if you've woven in your ends, properly and didn't have any weird little things like I did, then you can show either side. But for the purposes of this pattern, this right here is our right side row. And now we're starting to work our decreases. And we're going to work our decreases on our wrong side row. So you're going to take your needle and your yarn here. And since we knit from right to left, this underside here, as we're knitting, the hood is going to drop down. And the rest of our scarf is facing us on our wrong side row. And this is where we're starting with our rows for our decreases. So we're starting with our wrong side facing us. And so what you can do to remember that is take your progress keeper or a progress keeper and put it on the underside here, so that as you're holding and you're knitting, this side that's facing you is where we're going to start. On this side is where we're going to start doing our decreases. So the side over here, the side that frames our face, is not having any decreases done. This is totally straight down. It's the back side of the hood where we're going to be doing our decreases. And as we're holding that and we're working on our decreases, we're holding it with the hood down and our wrong side facing us as we knit. So you may want to put a little marker here to remind yourself that this is the side we're decreasing on. Okay, so now is where we have 4 rows that we're going to do before we get back into our regular decreases. So our first row of these 4 rows is going to start our decreases again. So I am just going to grab my progress keeper from here and put it here to remind me that this is my wrong side row where I'm going to be decreasing. So what we're going to do is we knit the first 2 stitches, slip 1 stitch, knit 1 stitch, and pass that slip stitch over that knitted stitch. So now we've decreased 1 stitch, and now we're going to knit all the way across until we get to the last 3 stitches, where we are simply going to slip them just as we've been doing the whole time. So this is your row 1. Your next 3 rows are literally just knitting across and slipping, knitting across and slipping. So you want to make sure that you remember what size you're knitting and what rows you decreased on from the first side. You don't want to start out knitting a small and then on one complete side of the hood realize that you knit the decreases for a medium. That would not turn out very nicely, would it? We don't want to do that. We want this to be the best it can be. So make sure you remember what row you decreased on the first time around. That was my row 1, which was the decrease row. And now I have simply 3 rows where I'm just going to knit across and slip, knit across and slip. Now, After those next 3 rows of this section of the pattern, we just move right into knitting your decreases just as before. So for my size, I knit 10 rows and do a decrease. But your row that you decrease on will be dependent on what size you're knitting. And then we are just going to keep knitting and decreasing all the way down, all the way until we get to 7 stitches left on our needle. And then you'll follow the part of your pattern that tells you how to decrease that last stitch and what to do after that, and then we will be done. So I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial with me. I hope it's been helpful, and I will include some footage after this of me continuing to knit and finishing up, and then I'll meet you back here at the end where we finish it off completely together and we can look at all the progress we made and our beautiful hood. So we finished up the hood, and I have to apologize. I filmed the entire portion of me seaming the hood and realized that I didn't actually film it, that I had never pressed record. So what I'm gonna do below is I'm going to link the video from Nimble Needles. He has a great, very short tutorial that shows you how to seamlessly seam garter stitch. And I actually really and truly wished I would have watched his tutorial before I seamed mine. I don't think it looks horrible, but I feel like if I watched his tutorial, because I watched it afterward, I wanted to find a tutorial that I could link for you. And I watched it afterward and I was like, wow, that's really good. I wish I had done that. But I have already woven in the ends and I can't find them now. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck with that. But that's okay. It is the back of a hood. It is meant to look like the back of a hood. And darn it, it looks like the back of a hood. But I'm still working on it. So last we saw at the desk was about right here. And I've gotten a fair bit done. And I still have a long way to go. So we have a long way to go here. But that's okay. I'm enjoying it, and I hope you are still enjoying knitting yours. So I am going to put on one of my favorite comfort movies, which is The Lord of the Rings. I think I'm actually going to finish watching The Two Towers, and I'm going to work some more here on my hood. And so, yeah, let's work together. That was close. I may have made it a little big. Oh, perhaps I should have checked my gauge. So I'm gonna try it on for you. It's just rained too, and unfortunately I don't have anywhere inside the house to do this because we're packing and moving. But, maybe you can hear my husband in the background, he's watering stuff. But I'm going to attempt to try this on without getting it all messy on because my tails, they hit the floor. I am 5 feet for reference. So let's try this. I have a ponytail going on in the back of my hair as well. But look! Oh, oh! Now I can sneak into the village totally undetected. That may have been a little much. Look at this! So I like that it's super, like, loose, and if I had my hair down and my curls were coming down, it would be like really just over the top. And I really like that I like that I made it long because I can wear it down like that, which is how I prefer to wear my scarves, or I can give it a little tie right there too. Look! It looks like Red Riding Hood, except it's white. Oh, look at me. Sorry I don't have like a heavy coat on to show you. It's just, it's really hot here still. And I don't want to die of heat exhaustion out here. But yeah, so it's finished. I think it looks pretty darn good. I like it better just with the tails hanging though. So again, I knit the size large, and I probably knit this, like my gauge is probably a bit large. But you know what, that's okay, because it's meant to be cozy, and yeah, I like it. I really like this. I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was helpful in some way, and I hope you have enjoyed going with me on this little adventure of knitting it. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, I would encourage you to give this video a like. If you would like to see more tutorials like this, subscribe. I've got more coming. Definitely. And leave me a comment down below and let me know if this was good for you, if you enjoyed it, and give me some suggestions for tutorials that I can do next, or knit alongs that you would enjoy seeing. I would really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching.